There we go. So everybody, this is Kylie Pinwill, and she is an accredited nutritionist and founder of the Well Balanced Woman program. She's just up the road from me in Coolham, isn't it, Kylie?
Yeah.
We haven't actually met in person yet, but I am dying to. And I know everybody is like, oh, let's hear from Kylie. Let's hear from Kylie, because stress and weight loss, such a big thing. Tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, sure. So probably the number one thing when women get in touch with me, find me on Facebook or, email me is, oh, I eat really well, I exercise all the time, I've been fasting, I've been doing keto, I've been doing this, that, everything else, and nothing's working. I'm putting on weight, I'm gaining weight, I haven't changed anything. Nothing I try changes. And it's a really sort of, I think, interesting time of life, like where we are, because as we go through perimenopause and menopause, we're sort of juggling all these balls. So we've got, a lot of us have, teenage or young adult kids who come with their own needs and demands. And then, we've got, parents who are getting older and, sort of more demanding. We've got, jobs, we've got businesses, we've got careers. We still put our hand up and do the school basketball and the gym. I'm currently on makeup tonight for Indians in Peter Pan. I didn't even know there were Indians in Peter Pan, but but all the things. So we're juggling all these balls, and what happens is we sort of get this ongoing sort of like flood of stress hormones through our body, and then it just, all the things that we used to do and all the things that used to work, stop working.
I was just looking at the shelves in your background. Sorry, I was listening.
Oh.
You've got the collagen on your top
Yes.
shelf that we were just talking about before.
Yeah.
So everyone who was listening before, see those like the canisters on the top shelf with the pink and the green and stuff, that's what they look like.
Yes. The Nutri-Organics one, yeah.
Yes, fabulous. They're fabulous.
Yes.
They make my hair grow thicker. I love them.
Yes. Of course, look at this.
So, many people do think stress is like a good thing to lose weight, because I feel when we're younger, we kind of go, there's those two types of people who either eat when they're stressed or don't eat when they're stressed. And I remember when I was younger, I was always the person who, I eat well when I'm ill and I eat when I'm stressed. I eat all the time. So there was one time I probably had split up with a boyfriend back in the day, and I didn't eat, and I lost all this weight, and I thought, this is brilliant. So for those people who think stress helps them lose weight, how would you, educate them or get them to think about it a little bit differently that would be healthy for their body?
Yeah, for sure. I think it sort of comes to a point for a lot of women where, they used to, have that stress, or, they, pressure at work or whatever, and they, the weight would just fall off. And I think it certainly gets to a point where things start to change. And I'm sure you've heard today about, like the big surges in hormones, and stress exacerbates all of that. So, our stress hormones, if you think of them as really sort of sneaky kind of hormones, and stress is designed to keep our body safe. So if we, from a evolution perspective, if we're running from a tiger and we have to hide in a cave, we go into that fight or flight mode, our stress hormones, and it signals our body to store fat, in case of that famine. That's just not happening. So, you know, it's our body wants to keep safe, so it just starts to store what we're eating. And what I see is a lot of women who then start, you know, restricting their food, or they cut out their carbs, or they, you know, start doing, you know, go back to the cardio and the high intensity exercise and things like that. And while there's sort of nothing particularly wrong with any of those things, you know, when your body's already in a stress state, if you start fasting, you know, you're then putting your body into more of a stress state. So fasting can be really effective, but if you're already stressed, it's just going to make things worse. You know, because your body doesn't know where food's coming from. So what you are eating is then being stored on your body. And likewise with exercise as well, you know, high intensity exercise can be fantastic, but if you're already in a stress state and you're, you know, pounding yourselves with these, you know, full-on workouts, you know, you're just creating more stress on your body, and it's going to backfire because your body is just going to hang on to that food and stack it, and normally around your middle as well. And I've just seen a comment there from Anna. Hello, Anna. Some of my clients are watching today, so which is very nice. Thanks, ladies. Stress and alcohol, you know, and that's a massive one. So what happens is we sort of see this cascade effect is, you know, we walk in the door, you know, grab the glass of wine, you know, have the wine, down it goes. We feel, you know, because alcohol's sort of, you know, a depressant. So, you know, we feel sort of relaxed in the moment. But then, you know, our body's got to then work harder to break that alcohol down, clear it out of our body. You know, we don't sleep as well, you know, and when we don't sleep, that also has a knock-on effect for our weight, because, you know, it throws our hunger hormones out. You know, it throws our sleep rhythm out. So we tend to then be looking for the carbs, looking for the sugar, you know, looking for the coffee, you know, all of the stimulants to kind of pick us up. And then we get to the end of the day and we want the wine. So you kind of in this.
And chocolate.
The caffeine, chocolate, wine kind of cycle. So it's, you know, it's being, I think, first up aware of that. And, you know, learning 9 times out of 10, you know, it's not actually about the food, because we all know what healthy eating looks like, right? So, you know, it's more a matter of tweaking our meals to make sure that we're supporting our bodies rather than, you know, depriving ourselves or, you know, putting our bodies under more stress.
Very much so. And with the work I do, hypnotherapy, alcohol, sugar addiction, all those kind of things I work with a lot. And what I say to my clients is it's working out something different to do and understanding and educating your mind. All those things that you just said about alcohol and what the effects are the next day. Same with cigarettes. So most people think they de-stress by smoking, when actually reports have shown that the nicotine actually stresses your body rather than de-stresses. And it's actually the breathing in of the alcohol, the breathing in of the smoke, the deep breathing is what relaxes you. And so it's very interesting to see how it's very hard for people to go, okay, well, I'll just lie down and breathe, you know, for a minute, 5 minutes when I get in, rather than just go out and have a cigarette or a wine or whatever your vice may be, chocolate.
And that's the thing. And at the end of the day, we, you know, we're all comfort creatures. So we want to feel nice. We want to reward ourselves. So, you know, what I sort of say to a lot of the ladies I work with is, you know, still use, you know, if wine is your thing, you know, still have a nice wine glass, you know, and get your wine glass out and put some, lemon and some lime in it, put some mint in there, put some nice, mineral water in there, and then, still drink out of your wine glass. And 9 times out of 10, like it's the ritual of doing it. And this could be, if you're a cake eater, or if you're a chocolate eater or a biscuit eater or coffee, whatever it is, it's often the ritual around it, because that's what makes us feel nice, as opposed to the thing, and it's like, I always have, I've got this teapot, and it makes me feel nice when I, sit down and have a nice cup of tea and a nice cup with my nice teapot, because that's my sort of way of making me feel nice, rather than, oh man, I just need a coffee and I'm, drinking some average coffee out of a horrible cup.
It reminds me, and I've lost my train of thought now, what I was going to say to you. Let's answer Narissa's question here. What if you don't drink alcohol, consume sugar, follow a balanced diet, and still see no results?
Yep. So, and this is where sort of stress comes in. So what are the stresses going on in your life? So, and stress can be really sneaky. So it can come in the form of pandemics, lockdowns, financial stress, death, divorce, we've got all those big stresses, all right? But it can also be, our body doesn't differentiate between big stress and just ongoing stress. Like, I forgot my car keys, I'm late, bloody kids have still got their stinky sports uniform in their bags and they need it today. Yeah, that was my morning this morning. It just, so when you're constantly switched on and you're constantly on the go, and I think to a lot of our detriment, we've kind of mastered the art of multitasking, and we've mastered the art of, juggling all the balls in the air. But at the end of the day, I think we get to this sort of point in life where we do have these big fluctuations and surges in our hormones. We become more susceptible to the stress hormones, and this is where like that weight starts to pack on. So what we need to do is, like, how can we reprogram the way your body responds to stress? So it's sort of triggering your body to start burning body fat rather than storing body fat. Narissa's just gone, hidden stresses. Yeah. And we all have them. And I think it's just our stage of life, it's coming at us from all angles.
And so, Kylie, if you were to see someone and say, okay, you're going through a lot of stress, what kind of foods would you say to them to eat to help alleviate that? Because we all know no sugar, well, not no sugar, but you know what I mean, sugar, ditch it, white flour, ditch it, all that kind of stuff. But what is the stuff that we should be eating to get the maximum benefit for relieving the stress?
100%. So first up, what I sort of do with the ladies I work with is we look at getting the right balance of foods. So we need to, and if we think of all of our hormones are really closely connected. So if if we are under a lot of stress, or, even if we don't realize that we're under a lot of stress, that has a direct impact on our blood sugar levels. That impacts our thyroid, and it's all connected, so when it comes to weight, insulin is our fat storing hormone, cortisol, which is one of our stress hormones, is a fat storing hormone. And if that's impacting our thyroid, that controls our metabolism, and that's going to impact our body's ability to burn weight. So what we want to do first up is, make sure that we're balancing that blood sugar. So getting the right balance of nutrients. So, are we getting enough fiber? Are we, making sure that we're getting enough protein at every meal? And a lot of women, they sort of, I think the typical Aussie diet is we tend to wait until dinner before we get any protein. Our bowl of muesli in the morning, our salad sandwich at lunch, it's all very healthy, but it's not balanced, so we need to sort of start with that first meal of the day, getting breakfast balanced, including some protein, including some healthy fats, things like avocado, or if you're having a smoothie or some muesli, making sure that you're getting lots of nuts and seeds, at the beginning of the day, also at lunchtime and dinner time. And then, if we're eating those balanced meals, and this is very individual, we shouldn't need to snack in between meals, because our blood sugar should be nice and balanced. We've had a good serve of fiber, protein, fats, so we shouldn't be hungry. And if we are hungry, that's fine, have the snack, but it should be, again, being mindful of those proteins, those healthy fats in those snacks. Whereas, chocolate, not so much protein, and some healthy fats in there, maybe. Cheese.
Chocolate with almonds in.
Right. Well, there you go. Winning. Ticking boxes everywhere.
The thing I was going to ask you as well is, eating and snacking. I think in the years gone by, the whole diet industry were big on, you eat small amounts and snack often. And I find, I found it personally, I was way bigger when I was doing that. I was like, what is going on? And now I teach my clients to, as you say, have breakfast, lunch and dinner, and be able to deal with that space in between. Not leaving yourself the space in between so massive that then when you come to eat again, you're so starving that you could eat a horse. Yeah,
that's right. And it's, every time we eat, if you think every time we eat, our body releases insulin, which is a fat storing hormone. So if we're eating, and, they used to be 6 meals a day, if you're constantly eating, you've got insulin going off left, right and center in your body. And I guess, the beauty of science is it's always changing. So, what we know now is very different to what we knew then. There's still a lot of personal trainers out there flogging that. So, ladies, it's time to ditch your 25-year-old personal trainer.
This is another thing that I've got a bit of a bee in my bonnet about. I won't talk to you about it because we could be talking for ages, and I want to lessen the food. Now, the other thing that I was going to say that Nerissa's just brought up as well is that we have so many different conflicting information about food and blood sugars and this and that. And as Nerissa has said, everything comes back to normal. So she's a bit scared to eat. And I've had a lot of clients who are like, I can only eat this from this time to this time and this from this time. And it's so confusing.
I mean, at the end of the day, my philosophy is like, food is what connects us with people. So whenever we catch up with friends, catch up with family, go to an event, food is a part of that. And I think we've put, in the last however many years, we've put so many rules on food, and the truth is, like, it's different for everyone. Like, everyone's body responds differently. But if you are kind of making sure that you're eating real, like, whole foods, getting, like I said, that fiber, protein, fats, and we get carbohydrates naturally, and our body needs, at this age and stage of life, our body needs carbohydrates. I think for women who've been through menopause, they can play a bit more with, ketogenic diets and things like that. But if you're under any form of stress, if you've got any thyroid things going on, you need like plant-based carbohydrates, like your sweet potato, brown rice, beetroot, you start, even potato, our poor little perfectly portion-sized nuggets of goodness. There's been, vilified, those potatoes. But, if we're, it's a real, if you think of it as being a real food that's perfectly portion-sized, how can you go wrong?
Yeah.
But I think, when it comes to food, as long as we're choosing, and most of our meals are including those things, and also just to sort of layer onto that with, every single woman I work with, we do a food sensitivity test. So what happens is, as we get older, the way our body is able to process and digest foods changes. And when we're eating foods, you know, that aren't quite right for us, and they could be foods that might otherwise be healthy, but they're just not right for our body right now. So this sort of triggers like a low-grade inflammation, which can also make weight loss harder as well. So what we tend to do, or what we do, is we go in, we identify those food sensitivities, take those foods out for a period of 6 months, let that inflammation settle down. Most women notice changes with, you know, their weight, their energy, brain fog, fatigue, you know, sleep is better, just by identifying those food sensitivities. But I just want to address what Narissa's saying about all of her blood sugar, all of her blood tests coming back normal. Okay, all right, ladies. When they do blood tests, it's on a bell curve. Okay, so if you're sitting in normal is here, right? So if you're sitting on the outsides of normal, you're not going to feel well. No wonder you feel lousy, you know. Whereas what we want to do is we want you in the optimal range. So here's optimal. This is where you feel great. And this kind of applies for, pardon me, things like thyroid results, iron results, blood sugar. Like I've seen so many women, you know, when they're out here for iron, we address their iron levels, amazing. You know, they feel so much better. You know, we start supporting their thyroid, you know, and we see their thyroid levels come back into that optimal range. That's where you feel good. So what we don't want is, you know, and medically they look at it a bit different, and they wait till you're, you know, you're medically diagnosed when you're outside of those, you know, and quite often women will say, oh, my doctor said, you know, my thyroid levels are low, but we'll just wait and see. Wait until they get bad enough? Whereas, you know, there's a lot we can do to support them so they're in that optimal range. So yeah. Anna's just saying, should the food sensitivity test be redone? Yeah, it can be. When I would recommend sort of redoing a food sensitivity test, like if we get to 6 months, and because our bodies are constantly changing, you know, unfortunately, this is healthy. We don't just get there and then tick it off and go, done that. You know, our bodies are constantly changing. So we need to have the tools to kind of keep going with it. So if you sort of get to your 6 month mark after your food sensitivity test and you've got new symptoms that have just sort of starting to appear, that's when I would recommend redoing the test. Most cases, you know, ladies are feeling a whole lot better and then, you know, don't need to redo that test.
Fabulous. And Kylie, tell me, have you had any specific symptoms that you've worked your way through?
Oh yes. So I when I was pregnant with my middle child, so 15 years ago, was diagnosed with a tumor in my thyroid. So I've had half my thyroid removed. And I've been through so I totally understand what it takes to how to support your thyroid and how to stabilize it. So I do take thyroid medication, but I'm also very careful in taking care of myself, because I know if I don't, I'll crash in a heap. I've also had adrenal fatigue, which again, you know, that's not a medical condition, but you talk to any woman who has been through exhaustion, burnout, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, and again, I was putting on weight. I had, you know, and I wasn't paying attention to what was going on with my body. So I was, you know, I'm sort of quite a driven sort of person. So, you know, I'm doing all the things. I was like, right, this weight gain, I'm going to beat it. I'm going to fast, and I'm going to, you know, make it 24-hour fast, because, you know, I'm going to go with the whole hog, and I'm going to run, and I'm going to do the things. And I flatlined, like completely flatlined. And it took me probably a good 12 months to come back and start feeling human. Yeah, so not a fun place to be. And I think once you've had once your adrenals have been compromised, you always have a toe in that pool.
Yeah.
So I know the signs, and I know that I have to pull myself back and go, okay, we need time out. We need, I need to, I sort of tell myself it's time to rest and replenish.
Yeah.
So it's nourishing foods. It's not going to the gym. It's, taking the dog for a walk on the beach. It's not saying yes to all the things. It's just, saying no. And sometimes, and one thing I have learned, which I will share with everyone, no is a complete sentence.
Love it.
Sorry, no. And I've, like years ago, I was yes to all the things. And, when you say yes to all the things, people ask you to do more of the things. So now I'm very aware of that. And I say yes to the things that I want to do. And I say no to my mother-in-law and extended family events.
I love it. I love it. What was I going to say then? I was just looking at a few of the comments as I was thinking, but I think that is a massive, massive lesson. And to anyone who has had adrenal fatigue or exhaustion, they will know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Anyone who hasn't and is just completely exhausted all the time, and you've just been to the doctor, and no disrespect to doctors because not all of them are the same, but very few doctors will say, oh, you maybe have adrenal fatigue. It's more the natural health practitioners will test you for the adrenals.
Yeah.
So if you are worried about your energy levels and stress, if you haven't been that much of a stressy person before and all of a sudden everything seems to be stressing you out, that's a big sign as well.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend to speak to a naturopath, a nutritionist, a homeopath, anyone who is in the natural health, to just check what they think, and then they can send you for some tests.
Yeah. And, and that's sort of what I do is work very holistically, because you are not a symptom. You're not a disease, you're not a condition, you're very much a whole person. And like I was saying before, like if your adrenals are fried, your thyroid is compromised. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a thyroid condition, but your thyroid's compromised. There's a good chance your digestion is pretty horrific. You're not sleeping. So we need to kind of like look at, I'm looking at Sharon. Sharon's just going ahead.
Sharon and
and so, I do work with women. I have a 12-week program that we put women through, and it's very specific that we start here and we step you through. So, we look at you as a whole person and address all of the underlying things, rather than just put sort of like a band-aid over the top. Because, if you keep going back to your doctor, I'm exhausted, I'm this, I'm that, there's a good chance they're just going to go, oh God, here she is again. Antidepressants, off you go.
Or sleeping tablets.
Yeah. And look, there's certainly, not to kind of like
bag them
or reduce the importance of those.
Yes.
There's certainly a time and a place for it. But I think, even so, if you're not addressing the underlying things, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
Whereas, there's so much that we can do, with food and, lifestyle changes. Mindset is massive.
Yes.
So, a huge part of what we talk about is, those mindset pieces.
I'm loving that almost everybody has said mindset today, because I love mindset, being a hypnotherapist.
Yeah.
Kylie, I could speak to you all day, but we'll have to finish up now. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure too. I'll give everybody your details and everything. You can get in touch with Kylie to do her programs, ask her questions, all that kind of stuff. And yes, anything you would like to send us off on, Kylie?
Yeah, I think as a thank you for watching today, Vanessa has a Is Stress Sabotaging Your Weight Loss ebook that I've put together, and in that are some really great tips on just simple things that you can do. You know, it can take you 30 seconds just to help nourish your body and your soul as well. So thank you for watching.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I'll come and see you soon in Coolum.
Yes.